Welcome to the Living Consciously TV show, coming to you live from our Denver, Colorado studios. Also, we are broadcasting live on Comcast Channel 56 right now. I'm your host and moderator, Coach Steve Toth, and our theme today is we are paying tribute to our viewers, our guests, and sharing you some of our milestones and also some of our future plans today. Let me introduce you to our cast today, beginning with Lynda Dyer. Welcome to the show.
Thank you. Wonderful.
She's here from actually Australia. I normally always have to say she's from Australia, from down under. Well, she's still from there, but she happens to be here live, which is very exciting.
Yeah, yes, and it's the day before, so it's wonderful.
Yeah.
Only took 24 hours to get here.
Awesome. Thank you for being here, and she's part of our Self-Evolution cast. And also let me introduce you next to me to Jamie Lerner. She's also part of our Self-Evolution cast. And I always have to say on the other shows that she's from Chicago, from the beautiful city of what? Wind, yes. But she's also here today with us, which is fantastic. Thank you for being here.
Thank you. It's wonderful to be here.
Yep, she's also part of our Self-Evolution cast. And we also have Ninon de Rosa. And I'm going to have to say that she is from the beautiful place called Las Vegas, the crazy town that the lights never go out.
And they never do.
And
Sorry, I couldn't be with you, but I couldn't leave the lights.
Well, you are with us. You are with us because technology makes it possible. So thank you, Skype.
Thank you,
Microsoft, whoever owns them these days. All right, so, and she's also part of our Self-Evolution cast. And two of our cast members are not able to join us today, but I do want to mention their name, and that's Tori Kaczynski. He's actually on a plane right now. And Jenna Cook, and she's not able to be with us today, but she is with us. Both of them are with us, I'm sure. I'm feeling their energy right now. So what this show is really going to be about, I want to just remind everybody, and of course there's going to be viewers that are tuning in for the first time, and I just want to clarify and bring clarity to what is this show really about. And it's really simple. It's about teaching the public about how to be in the present moment. Now, why is that unique? Because in my experience, a lot of people these days, and in old days, in the past, including myself, had a really hard time being in the present. And why is the present important? Because that's where life occurs. It's not occurring in the past, and it's not occurring in the future, because the past has already happened, it's gone, and the future hasn't happened yet. So there is a reason why we call it a present, right? Because it is.
It's a gift.
It's like giving you, being present with everybody right now on the show, and that includes all the cast members, and includes all the viewers, it includes everybody in the technical room and everybody that's here, the viewers here in the studio. Being in the present is an awesome thing to experience. And what I have experienced throughout the years that I have been doing this is time disappears. So if anybody is looking for proof that time doesn't really exist, time is something that we made up, right? Just for our convenience so that we can start a show at 3 o'clock in the afternoon. But other than that, time doesn't really exist, because before you know it, the show will be over. And it will feel like, and I can guarantee this because from experience, it will occur to you as we only spend 5 minutes, right?
Right.
So that's really what the show is about. And I can't think of anything more important, even if I'm thinking about it right now and I'm checking in with myself, that we could do in terms of serving the public than to have an example for them. What is it like to be living in the present moment? And so now the only other thing I want to say about it is how do we do this? So I want to give the viewers a little insight as to what we have to go through and what we had to go through to be able to do this. Well, the way it works is that we have to be in touch with and connect to who we really are. So we have to be connected, as we say it. And what are we connected to? Well, we're connected to our highest self, or our higher self, or to source. A lot of people like to use that word, the source. Whatever word you want to use, it doesn't matter. It could be God, it could be the Buddha, I don't care. It doesn't matter. But the energy, the source, where we are all from. And when we are connected, then what ends up happening is I had to learn how to manage myself, because we go in and out of consciousness. Is that correct? Mm-hmm. So what we do as part of the cast and what we learned about is to be able to monitor ourselves. So when I am not connected, what am I? Well, I'm disconnected. And if I'm disconnected, who am I being?
You're not conscious.
I'm being not conscious, correct. I'm actually activating my ego. And what happens when the ego is activated?
Nothing.
Your guess is as good as mine. Anything and everything will happen, right?
Oh,
so that's really the journey that we've been on. And it's not something that, for my own experience, I can say that I have mastered or perfected, because I haven't. I still go in and out. But that's okay. What I'm learning about now is that I continue to manage myself so that when I'm out, I have an opportunity to resolve it for myself within the next 10, 17 seconds. If I'm unable to resolve it, then I put my hand up and I go, hey, excuse me, cast members, guests, whoever is on the show, I'll go, I'm having this experience right now that this is how I feel. So what we do is we express what? Our truth. Our truth about what?
What's really going on.
What's really going on, right? And so I know that on the shows, since we've been on for 7 seasons, we're going on 8 now. I have talked about this before because I used to be a corporate. I used to be in corporate America for a long, long time. Don't even want to admit for how long. But what was really easy for me to share on the shows many, many times over and over again is that in corporate America, and we do this in families, I know this will come home for everybody, is that we put things under the carpet. Like, we don't want to express how we feel because we're concerned about what people think of us, how people may respond to us, how we may maybe destroy relationships. That we don't want to go there, right? And unfortunately, for me, there is nothing more important for me than to express who I am in the moment, because I don't want to rip you off, and I don't want to rip me off of who I really am, right? Why would we want to do that? If you do that, then what ends up happening, we have millions of people that are running around pretending to be what? Not really who they are, correct? So that's really what the show is about, and this is not easy. And I just want to make sure that I talk about the milestones that we have achieved. And to begin that, I want to say we started this journey 2.5 years ago, and you weren't with us yet,
no.
But you were, and Ninon was, and really, you are the only two that started with us at the beginning, and we've been a revolving door ever since, because this is not for everybody. So I want to acknowledge Ninon, Jamie, and Lynda to be here today after 2.5 years, because it takes something. It takes something to be able to show up every week and to be able to share yourself and share your truth. It takes guts. It really does.
Truth. It takes truth.
Yeah, and it takes your willingness to be able to tell the truth, your truth. And people said to me throughout the last 2.5 years, okay, so what are you talking about when you talk about truth? That's baloney. There is no such thing as truth. Of course there is. The only truth there is my own. And we have to be able to relate to each other. And the only way we can relate to each other, I think, is if we're being straight with each other.
However, it's really interesting because that truth can change in a heartbeat. So what's true for us right now in this moment may not be true for us 5 minutes from now. And that was pointed out for me when I was going through a relationship change. And I said to this guy, so, that's the truth. I don't know what more to give this relationship. And he came back with this fiery comment. And I said, well, then that's the truth. And I was talking to my friend about it, and she said, actually, about an hour later, if you'd both sat and thought differently or just had some time, you would have probably come through with a different truth. And I went, wow, that's correct.
Absolutely, of course you would, because that is the truth at the time of the circumstances under that time. So you might be in another place at another time, and that you wouldn't say the same thing.
But ultimately, I want to challenge you. I want to challenge all of you, the cast members and also the viewers, that there is only one truth.
Yeah.
And
That's
that
what you're
one
going
truth,
for.
and that one truth, really, if we really look inside,
Yeah.
that's love. That's the only truth there is. And if we can connect to love, then we're really not that different, are we?
No, or not.
I don't know if I can put truth and love in the same place.
Do what now?
I don't know if I can put truth and love in the same word.
Oh, really?
Yeah, because
Tell us
when
more
you're
about
putting
that. Tell us more about that.
Well, because being truthful sometimes has nothing to do with love for yourself or for anybody. It's just the truth, period.
Well, I think that in order for us to actually have access to the truth, we need to tap into the love that we have for ourselves. And it begins with that relationship that we have with ourselves that allows us to make the connection and expose ourselves to the truth. So in some ways, I think that they are connected. I think that we cannot do that without self-love. And sometimes people are so cut off from themselves, disconnected, that their truth is unavailable to them.
I think sometimes we need to explain what truth is and what love is, and I think a lot of our audience is going to think or take it the same way as probably I'm taking it. Truth is one thing, and then they think, well, love is something else. It's loving something or somebody or doing something like that. So I think, Jamie, if you can explain what loving yourself is, that might help our audience.
Well, I think that we all have this opportunity to connect to our inner knowing, our inner being, our higher sense of self, and that's that little voice that's tapping us on the shoulder all the time. And if we choose to tune into it, then we are actually have access to that truth. The only way that that occurs is when we're in a place of self-love, because our ego is stepped aside or stepped down, and now we're open to receiving that information. So yes, I think the most important relationship is the one that we have with ourselves. It's the unconditional love that we have with ourselves, for ourselves, that opens us up to the truth, our truth, and then our ability to connect with other people and be who we are.
Yeah, right on.
So our truth
Awesome.
could
Yeah.
therefore, our truth could come from our love for ourselves and our connection to universal energy, like Steve was saying. So you've got that universal energy coming in, and you feel really good about who you are, and then you provide whatever that is that you're providing out. That's the truth of where you're coming from.
Correct.
If you're not feeling, you're always connected. If you're not feeling the connection, though, and you're coming from ego, then that's your truth
Yes.
at that time.
Yes.
You know, and so
Yes.
you'll come from an egotistical place, and 4% of you will react actually. Whereas if you're coming from the 96% of universal energy and you're tuned into that, then you're coming from a place of responding. And you will respond. It's relaxing, actually, to come from your love and to come from your truth is actually more relaxing than the ego. The ego plays lots of tricks.
Well,
So-
egos always has a problem afterwards.
So let me just relate to this something that I experienced before. So when I was not conscious and awake, the sky was still blue and the birds were still singing. Except back then, I didn't see the sky being blue because I didn't care. I was too busy having my ego do its thing. And I didn't hear the birds, but they were there.
But, you know, and then the only person that gets ripped off is you.
Yes, and
So-
now I get that the sky is blue, and I see it in the morning when I wake up, and I take time out to be connected to this universal energy, which to me, this is just my truth, is love. I mean, what other energy could create the beautiful sky, the beautiful flowers in my front yard? I mean, when I look at those flowers, I mean, what other energy how else can you explain the intricacies of the world and what's being created here every day?
You know something, that brings me to a funny story about my husband. I remember I was down at Newport Beach, and I was looking up at the sky, and there's this beautiful formation of birds. And I said to hey, look at that up there, isn't that beautiful? And he looked up and he said, I've never seen that before. And I'm looking at him and I said, what do you mean you've never seen that before? He said, well, I never noticed anything like that before. So that's how people are out there. Until I showed him what something was that was totally different to where we were going and what we were doing and his thoughts. And he was so enjoyable. He just loved this whole moment that he'd never seen or never noticed before. So this happens to a lot of people out there.
But, once again, it took your connection to yourself to even notice those birds were there. So that's a wonderful example of one person connected to themselves and how they can share that connection and help someone else connect. So, and that's the love right there.
Absolutely. And always remember, when you hear the birds singing, it's actually their orchestra. So I always say in the morning, oh, the orchestra is playing. And it's all the birds, different birds singing and everything. So you can now all think of it as an orchestra.
All right, great. So let's go back to, I just want to share some milestones with the viewers real quickly. So we started this journey back in February of 2011. Would you believe it?
No.
So I can only ask you and Ninon, so it's you, Jamie, and Ninon, do you remember the first time we got together here at this studio?
Yes, I do.
Yes, 100%.
And did you, do you remember what we were doing and what were we creating at the time?
Yes, I do.
Yes.
What do you remember?
Go ahead, Jamie.
Well, I remember that it has nothing to do with what we have created. That we were kind of bumbling around trying to find our way in somewhat of an unconscious manner.
Yes. We were actually fighting. Right, I remember it.
We weren't literally fighting, but I think what we were doing also, we were all trying to be very conscious of what we were trying to do, what we were trying to picture in our minds, what it was. And we had all these people actually in the green room, which is what we call it. We were all talking, and we all had different tables that we were talking to each other. And it's funny because we all sort of attached ourselves to whom we wanted to actually be with. And it was quite, and that to me was very interesting, of how we attach ourselves to somebody we feel comfortable with. And I always remember in the studio, and I think that was the most exciting part, because nobody had ever done this. And I had been always doing a TV show for years. And it was fascinating to me with the excitement and what everybody was trying to do and how 100% they all wanted to be. And I just looked at it and I thought, wow, what a team this is. And even if they didn't know what they were doing, they were trying 100% to do exactly what Steve wanted and how he wanted it. And I just thought it was one of the greatest moments in my life.
Yeah, thank you. So I can honestly say that when I first came here with all of you, I had no idea what I was doing or what I wanted to do or what I was planning to do. And I really didn't care, because I was committed. I didn't know the hows and what it's going to look like. And because nobody has, one thing I knew for sure, nobody has ever tried anything like this before. Because as you know, when you get more than two people in a conversation, everything changes.
Yes.
Right?
But you had them under control, Steve. You were very good. You did. You had them all under control.
And the purpose of the show was always, from day one, is to always have at least 5 people on the show. So that was like a commitment that I had, and to make sure that we had the dynamics, that we had different people from different parts of life, young, old. And as I said before, it's been a revolving door, and people have come, people have gone, and everything is fine. And I think the first, we've done well over 80 episodes now. And I think the first 3 or 4 seasons, we were just really learning. That's how I feel. We were learning about this, and then what actually ended up happening is we have a mastermind call that we do once every week. And what I was noticing is that in the mastermind calls, so what I want to say for me, I'm not going to speak for you, okay? For me, for the first 2, 3, maybe 4 seasons, a lot of us were still pretending, so was I. The show today is completely different than what it was for the first 3 or 4 seasons. I was pretending, and so was everybody else. But I've noticed that in the mastermind call, as our relationship has been formed with each other, and as we were learning about each other, the real shows were starting to happen in the mastermind calls. And I said, oh my God. So the show that I was hoping for and I was designing is going to come alive because I can already experience it in the mastermind call. Now all we have to do is bring it to the studio, right? And then somehow magically it just happened. And then the big thing that happened for me was at the end of last year, because I was experiencing a lot of growth, and then all of a sudden, I also was experiencing quite a few negative things that were happening. Some of our vendors that we were using, I also, this came out of an internet TV station, and actually what I've done is, all of you have come through the internet TV company that I also own, because we run everybody through there to select the few people that we feel that are up to this. And my internet TV company almost went under because several of our vendors have either stopped doing business or they sold. Mm-hmm. And yes. I had to redesign everything. So that's how the new company came around, Conscious Evolution Media. And that's how the new website, Conscious Evolution Media, came around. And then we became really the production company. And the reason I'm bringing this up, because a lot of times people are concerned about negative things happening to them. And what I've learned is there is a reason sometimes why negative things are happening. And it's okay, because something awesome is going to come out of it. Mm-hmm. And that's exactly, at the time, I didn't know what was the purpose of all of that I had to go through. But I had to scramble to stay in business. And this is the reason. Like, we're going to talk about it.
We're going to talk about it. Steve.
Pardon me?
You were being tested to see if you could go through it, or from one plateau to the next plateau, and they were testing you, and you won.
Yeah, well, thank you, Ninon. But I've gone through quite a few tests in the last 10 years, and I thought I was done being tested, right? And I said, I don't need to be tested anymore, and obviously that was incorrect.
However, it's not about being tested. It's about, before you go to any mountain, there's always a valley, and you'll appreciate the mountain when you've been through the valley. And so it's like, whenever we reach a different level of awareness, we need to set a goal to do that, and we're challenged. The universe isn't going to bring anything to us unless we're challenged and have gone through that. And it's just wonderful when you look back. One of the great things about it, though, is as we go through these tests now, as being more aware, more conscious people, you get it. Whereas before it was a great big terror barrier, and it was like, oh, I can't do this, and there's this wall here, and I'm bouncing off it, and I have no idea that if I just take one more step, I'm through it. Mm. And
it all depends how much you need it, and how much you want it,
all
what
the
you really want to
do. Though, and this is where Steve was saying before about living in the moment. All of our stuff from the past comes up to go, you can't do that, you can't do that. You tried it before, remember, you can't do that. Whereas now, when we're at this level, it's like, okay, I get it. You're challenging me. Thank you. Mm. Thanks for the challenge.
Yeah, everything that I was going through was completely outside of my comfort zone. Yeah. Everything, because I had to redesign everything. We created this gorgeous website, consciousevolutionmedia.com, and I wanted it to be absolute quality. And as I was designing that, magic happened. Google Plus, Hangouts came around, and YouTube Live came around. And YouTube approved us, as a partner, being able to do shows on YouTube Live in HD. And all of a sudden, all the pieces that I was looking for just magically all came together. And now you can go on there and look at our content, and it's all 100% quality.
And going back to your living consciously, Steve, how did you feel about your conscious mind and the conscious steps that you had taken that you really didn't know about, but you really sort of thought, okay, I'm going to go for it? How did you feel about that at the time?
Well, I mean, that's what's interesting about the show and creating the show and the journey, is that it has taken me through my own growth. Mm-hmm. Because there are several important things that I have learned just doing the shows. So it has tremendously benefited me, and I'm sure it tremendously benefited you, which I'm going to be asking you about. But the number one thing the most important thing that I got out of doing the show so far is that this lesson that I learned, and I want to thank Jamie for this, and of course I heard this throughout my life. I always went, yeah, whatever. Never actually pulled the trigger on it, And so what Jamie has taught me is, if it feels good, do it. If it doesn't feel good, don't do it. Mm-hmm. Now, how simple is that? You know, I mean, it is so freaking simple. It's like I could just, bang my head in the wall. Why have I waited this long? But, I wasn't ready. Okay, and all of a sudden, something occurred in my life when I said, "Oh my God!" So if I look at things that I've done in my life, and I knew that it didn't feel good, but I went ahead and did it anyway. Every time I did that, I paid for it. Mm-hmm. And so now how I live my life, again thanks to Jamie, is I immediately check in, I connect to myself, make sure that I'm connected, and I'm connected. If it feels good, I'll do it, right away. If it doesn't feel good, I'm looking for how quickly can I get out of it. Mm-hmm. And this is not just about projects, but it's about people. It's about everything in my life. Because if it doesn't feel good to me, don't bother.
Absolutely right.
I
Simple.
always see procrastination is our friend. Procrastination has gotten a bad rap. Procrastination allows us to take a step back and to get into an alignment with the task at hand before we do it. And it's true. If you do anything from a place of not feeling good, I can guarantee it's not going to be successful.
Yeah.
But from a place of feeling good,
That's
oh
huge.
yeah.
Because you're working against universal energy.
Yes.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's my
And I
idea.
knew all this for the last 30-some freaking years. But knowing it and actually living it is two different things.
But this is the good news. It doesn't matter how long it takes us.
Yeah, it doesn't matter.
I mean,
It
we have
doesn't
our
matter.
whole life to get it
matter.
right,
I'm
we
not-
never get it done, and we never get it
I'm
right,
not,
and
don't,
so
don't get me wrong. I'm not being resentful
whatever.
of myself. That
No,
it took
I
me-
know,
It took
but
whatever the heck it took.
doesn't matter.
That's fine. That's
And-
fine. I'm glad that I finally got it. Bingo.
I'm glad too.
All right, so I want to ask you some questions regarding what have you got out of the show so far, and being with the team, being part of Living Consciously TV, beginning with you, Lynda.
Well, first of all, it was a goal of mine to, I was the most fearful person on the planet as far as public speaking went. I won awards and wouldn't go on stage in case I had to speak. So it's a real turnaround for that to be my profession. And so getting through that, and then I just made a goal that the next step for me to get the information that I know and that I would like to share out to a broader medium would probably require TV. And so I just put it out there. And that was the year before last when Helen contacted me and said, "I'd like you to be a cast member on this show." And I didn't jump up and down, I didn't do anything. I just said, "Okay, then, what do I do?" And one of the things that's happened for me through the show is confronting the stuff, when people are talking and you've got stuff coming up for you, being open and honest about it. And also the growth that we see in ourselves, being able to come off a show and go, "Wow, that was amazing," And I think the teacher learns the most, so we're all still learning by being here. We're learning a lot, and I'm really grateful for that. I'm grateful for the comments that come through from the audience and the questions they have. I'm grateful for the people who you are and who you be, because I'm learning all the time from you and taking that on board. And for me, one of the biggest learnings is I'm calmer, a lot calmer about who I be, what I do. I was laughing because before we start the show, Steve says, "Okay, put your seatbelts on, tray tables up." And I'm on a plane getting here, like it's a 24-hour trip from Australia. And this guy goes on and says, "Okay, trays up, seatbelts on." And I started laughing.
Yeah. The show is starting.
Am I already on the show? And I think that's the beauty of it, that we can just be calm, live in the moment. And I've really loved that. Loved it.
Yeah, fantastic. Well, you feel really home.
I really
Yeah.
do. I feel it at home. Like in the last, I'll give you an example, the last 2 nights, I've been here for 2 nights. And the first night we're still on Australian time, right? So you can imagine we're awake at 1 o'clock in the morning, and I'm thinking, who else is awake? Because when you're in a room with other people, you don't want to disturb anybody. So and I started to laugh, because on this side, you might have someone snoring. On that side, you've got someone laughing in their dreams. And I'm thinking, this is really quite funny. I started to laugh. And then I started to pretend that I was on stage in England, because after here I go to Albuquerque, then to London where I'm speaking, and I just presented my whole speech in that time. And I felt calm, and I started really laughing because I love to laugh with the audience. And I feel like now I don't need to go and do any more preparation because I took that time. I mean, it could have been catastrophic for some person. Why am I awake? I took that time to just pretend. Anyway, last night, the same thing happened. I woke up at 1 o'clock in the morning, but then I heard the restlessness in the room, and I said, is anybody else awake? And they said, yeah. And I said, oh, cool, let's have a midnight party. Now, we wanted to sleep through to be on American time. But you know what? When you live in the now, that's what you do. I said, who wants a cup of tea? You know, is there any munchies? Let's have a midnight snack. And we all started to laugh, and we had, some fun and a cup of tea, and then we just watched the show and gradually relaxed. And that's what it's like, because when you live in the now, it's very calming. You look at opportunities rather than things that have gone. There's nothing in your past that governs what you're doing. It's just, what do I want to do right now?
Very cool. Thank you, Lynda. What about you, Jamie? What was the biggest thing that you got out of doing this show, personally?
This has just been the most fun for me to connect with everyone. So I don't do anything that isn't fun. And for me, every show and every cast member that I've met and I've connected with has just been more and more fun and learning, and it's just been a great experience. And I so appreciate all of you and just the opportunity to be part of something wonderful.
Awesome. Thank you. What about you, Ninon?
Well, mine's, hope it won't be too long, but anyway, I always wanted to go on the internet TV, and I had a TV show for the younger generation for 16 years, and I wanted to reach more people. And then, as things do happen, as we say, coincidental, Steve, you came into my life with your program and your Real Coaching Radio at that time. And it was a great opportunity for me, as well as it was an opportunity for you. So I think both of us kind of learned through it and by it. And I was at that time doing my Ninon Speaks TV show. And then you came up with this living consciously. And I thought, oh my goodness, living consciously. Whew, am I living consciously? And since the beginning of the first show until now, I have learned and achieved and done so much of knowing who I am. I've lived a very incredible, gracious, wonderful life that any woman could live. But then living consciously even made it better, because now I'm just, it's brought so much to me personally from all of you, of listening to Jamie and listening to Lynda and especially listening to you, Steve, and also of our past team people that have all brought something to the table. And I've always been very, very open to listening and to actually not criticize, but maybe to learn by it, or to say, well, that doesn't mean that's for me. But sometimes I ignore that, and learning what I have learned, it was for me, and I have learned so much, and I have grown, if I could have grown any more, within myself, and the knowledge of other people and what you say, how you talk to them, how you look at them has completely changed my mind. And it's just, I've just got so, I feel very selfish about it, because I've just got so much out of what we have done. And I'm now not so afraid of speaking my mind. I always had a lot of stuff in my mind, a lot of stuff that I thought, oh, I'm going to hurt this person if I say it, and I'm going to do this. Now I just say it because it comes out from me, very free, very easy, and it's the truth. So living consciously for me is just absolutely amazing. And I encourage anybody to jump on this boat and row with it.
Fantastic. Thank you, Ninon. So, of course, none of this would be possible in terms
without
of...
you, Steve.
Yeah, thank you. None of this would be possible without, of course, all the cast members that have been involved with the show, and all of you that are still here. And, I've got lots of questions before from a lot of the other cast members that are no longer with us. So where are we going? Where is this taking us? And from the very beginning, a lot of people in this world are looking for overnight successes, okay? And what I've learned so far, and I'm willing to be wrong, is there's no such thing as overnight success.
No, there is not. No,
Now, if somebody
you're right.
can prove that to me otherwise, please do so. But my own experience tells me there's, what I've been working on for the last 10 years, we're just beginning to get the fruits of it, okay? And most people really don't care what it took. They just see that, oh, wow, that's awesome. And that's fine. But I want people to know that overnight success doesn't exist. And a lot of the cast members that, again, are no longer with us were wondering, so when I'm going to get the benefit of why I joined? And I could never guarantee anybody, when that's going to be, because I didn't know it myself. But because of all the changes in who we are being and it's really our connectedness to consciousness and connected to universal energy is what's making all this possible. Because I was always looking for a way to communicate this show and communicate our ideas and the tools and the different modalities that we have people come through to as many people as possible. And I knew from the beginning that that was not going to be NBC, that's not going to be Fox, that's not going to be any of those stations, because they are really not interested in being in the present moment. So they wouldn't be really interested in what we have to offer. So all of this stuff that we've been doing have come up to the surface now this year, and now we're going to be on PBS. Well,
That's amazing.
this is why we did all this, and we're just in a way, if you think about it, we're just beginning it. Because
No, we're not. No, we're not. We put a lot of work into it.
yeah, I know, but the fun just begins.
We
The
can't
scheme of
forget,
life
can't
is a
forget what we all went through.
Now we're going to have a lot more people to be able to see what we do, and we're going to be able to serve a lot more people and provide value to everybody's lives every day. And that's what it's about for me, and I know that's what it's about for you. And, PBS, the largest television station in America, over 100 million eyeballs. And the plan for us is we're starting next month, and we're starting with 12 shows. And the way, we set it up is that the production company is Conscious Evolution Media, and all the shows that we do here at Denver Open Media, and also shows that we do on YouTube Live, will be eligible to go to PBS, and we'll just go through a selection process to make that happen. And I feel fantastic about it. So initially, the first part of the plan is to go to the entire state of Colorado and parts of Wyoming, and then we're going to go to major markets like Los Angeles, San Francisco, Chicago,
So exciting.
New York. Yes, it is exciting.
It is. It's amazing. It's
And
amazing.
then in 2 years, I'm hoping that we'll be able to get to corporate PBS. And then once we do that, they'll be pushing the content out to all the 234 stations that are in this country. And then the floodgates will definitely open. So I'm very excited about that. I don't know about you, but
I'm very excited.
Wonderful.
this is the purpose and the
But
reason.
something is funny, Steve, because you were asking about trying to get on the cable stations and PBS and everything. And it's funny in life, and I've learned this the hard way maybe, but everything takes its course. Everything takes its plateau, and it all moves out gradually, and you think, I'm not getting there, but you are getting there, which we spoke about before. But it's the process. So what we did in the last 2 years, we wouldn't be where we are now. So, you look at that and you understand it. And I think to our audience out there, because if something doesn't work within a day or 6 months or a year, they give up. And I want to tell them out there not to do that. If you really have a passion for it and you really like it, keep moving along. You're going to have, as Lynda said, those valleys, those down valleys, and then you come up these mountains, you go down, and that's why we have mountains and valleys. And I think, for our audience, just hang in there. Hang in there.
Yeah, thank you.
But every part of that goal is you learning, and the universe isn't going to give us or you or me our goal until we're ready to receive it. And so if we don't keep going through the journey, we're learning, and all of a sudden it's happening this year for all of us, because the universe is saying, hey, you guys, you've done the hard yards, it's your turn. And Steve's done more work than most, and of course it's now becoming a fruition.
Yeah.
What's that favorite saying? The luckier you are, the harder you work.
I don't know. It's not really work for me. I want everybody to know, and you know this, I don't have to tell you, but I want the viewers to know that this is not work.
No.
This is my passion, and this is, for me, it's play. It doesn't show up. I never think about it as work, ever.
That's
So
why-
I'm going to share some statistics from our YouTube channel, just so that you can have the experience of the viewers are really also making this happen. It's not just us. It's coming from all
absolutely.
directions. And so I just printed out the last 30 days, and we made this show here with Dr. Eric, which seems to be the most popular show right now that we have on. But just to give you some idea, this has just happened in the last 30 days. The show that we did with Dr. Eric Pearl has been watched, and the estimated minutes that they have watched it is 19,260 minutes, and that boils down to 13 days of continuous watching, and this just happened a couple of weeks ago. Now, to me, that's major, because if I look at our past history, I mean, we have some shows that have done much better than that, but in order to get there, 4 years. This is in 2 weeks. So I'm seeing the
Exponential growth.
The exponential growth. I mean, this growth from just last month is 41% from last month. And so
then individually, we're going to see that. I'm seeing it already on my website. So instead of so many hits per month, I've doubled that.
Right.
And I'm thinking, what went on for that to happen? And I thought, oh, okay. So people can see us on YouTube, and then they'll go to our individual websites as well as back to here, and it's wonderful. Everyone benefits.
Yeah, right on. All right, so let me ask you some questions about just season 7, which is our last season. What was your most favorite show in season 7?
Oh gosh.
Well, I think. Are you asking anybody?
Yeah, anybody can answer. Yeah.
Oh, Dr. Lee.
Okay.
Dr. Lee, and also there was this young lady, Pamela. I think she was from Australia, Lynda.
Yes, Pamela Caldwell.
Pamela Caldwell, I thought was really amazing. I thought she was right on, and she just knew exactly what she was talking about, and I just thought she was excellent in her presentation.
Yep.
Yeah, she is an amazing lady, because she
Yes.
teaches people to put their dream on paper and then cut out magazines, etc., and then she helps them make plans to go and achieve. And of course, she lives her material. She's just taken her family and bought herself a 70,000 or 270,000 Winnebago and went right around Australia with young kids.
Yeah.
And decided they were going to have their third child, and she fell pregnant on the trip.
I know, it was an amazing
so she
story.
came back and then sold the Winnebago, and it's been filmed. So the whole trip is going to be paid for. So that's a pretty good dream.
But she's an honest, beautiful, honest woman. But what I really liked about her was she gives back.
Yes.
And giving back is one of the most important things that the majority of people don't quite understand what giving back is, and it's
Yes.
kind of helping somebody else, if you can, without wanting anything back. And I think that's what she does. But also Dr. Lee, obviously, because I'm very intrigued with the brain, and I love the brain. And actually, Steve, I just sent you an email about a young gentleman I know that has severe Lyme disease and has affected his brain, and I'm wondering if Dr. Lee can help. So,
Great. Yeah. Yeah, he was fantastic. Actually, he had cancer in the near past, and he kind of dropped out for about 6 months to 8 months.
And let's say Dr. Gerdes. So it's Lee Gerdes.
Gerdes.
So do people
Lee
know?
Gerdes,
Yeah,
yes.
Lee Gerdes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and he totally shared his truth
Yeah,
about
it's a beautiful
what he
story.
went through, and
amazing
how much
story.
closer that experience of getting cancer has got him to his family and to his kids. I mean,
But
Yeah,
it
what
was,
that
about
was
an
amazing.
amazing awareness he had? That he said everybody in his family, because he had accepted death, it's like that equal sign, cancer equals death, and he said, wow, he went for that as well, and then he found all his children accepted that, and he went, if we're so good at accepting death, why can't we accept life? And he turned his whole thinking pattern around and said, no, I'm going to live. And he had to re-educate almost his family, but he changed the whole way he thought about his disease and how he can get through this. And, you know, that I love that. That was.
I would recommend anybody to see if they could see that show, Living Consciously show. Which show was that, Steve?
I think it was our second show of the second episode of season 7.
But anybody who could watch it, watch
on
it,
YouTube,
because it's an amazing story of what he went through and what he found out from, you know, unfortunately having cancer, but kind of worked out.
Yeah. What about you?
I loved the Lee Gertie show. That was very special, and I found myself getting quite emotional from
me too.
what he shared.
Yeah.
But I also liked Dr. Pearl's show, and it was very special having him in the studio with us and having him do some hands-on demonstration, and then spending a few days afterwards in the seminar, and I thought that was fantastic.
Yeah, that was my favorite.
Didn't he
show
raise the hairs on your arms?
Oh, well, not only that, I had this connection with him that was just amazing.
Yeah.
I mean, my body was truly picking up, you know, his energy, and I was buzzing, and that happens to me, you know, quite often, and you know, it was one of my favorite shows for several reasons. One is we had the chairs filled up in the studio, so the, you know, every time we do that, and we have some other shows like the New Health Conversation show where we had a lot of people in here, but when we fill up the studio with people, it changes the atmosphere, you know, completely, and that was different. And then the fact that who he is and what he does for a living, because what he teaches is not another tool or another modality, and because he proves it that it's available to absolutely anyone. Doesn't matter what color you are, what sex you are, what you believe in, you know, none of that matters. Anybody can do it. And so that was a first experience for me in terms of being with somebody who actually does something that's very effective and that connects us to the source energy. It was something very unique. And it was interesting to me too because, you know, he is very good at what he does, very polished in terms of a speaker and delivering the message. You know, he's very good at it. And he was doing that on the show, and I let him do it, of course. But then I stopped him at one point and I said, okay, so here's the thing. So you are, because I wanted to check into reality, right? So I said, so you're driving down the highway in your car, and you look to your left, and somebody's doing this to you. Your response.
Have a nice day.
Because I wanted to know, because everything that he said and everything he done on the show was absolutely fantastic. But it's not like I wanted to test it, but I wanted to know from somebody that awake and that conscious and that connected to energy, source energy, how would he respond to that? Because I'm sure that it has happened to him, right? Maybe he's even done it to others, you know, because we're human beings, right? So his response was fantastic. So I really enjoyed that entire show, and what you said is spending the entire weekend to see, you know, I was
Steve, we all have the anticipation. What was his response?
It was on the show.
Well, his response was, he said that he would check in with himself right away. What did he do for the last 30 seconds that may have caused that response? And that he would be smiling, and he would be, I think he said he would be having compassion for the person that did that. And I thought that was a fantastic response, because what we have a tendency to do, so the person that did that, for me, is they are in their egos. You know, I wouldn't do something like that unless I was in my ego, right? Unless I was disconnected. And the best thing that I can do as a human being is to have compassion, because obviously that person, something is going on in their life that's making them to be disconnected.
And then if we follow that, if we do the same thing back,
then we're disconnected.
We're disempowered.
Yeah, we're disconnected. Yeah. Then it just spirals down.
Smile and keep driving.
Yeah.
And maybe send them a prayer over.
Well, thank you for allowing me to focus on the road.
Yes.
Yeah. So I want to ask you about what do you want to create for season 8, and how do you see us unfolding from where we are today?
Well, I think where we're going is amazing, and I think the quality of our guests coming in is wonderful, so that we can have some really across the board conversations that entertain our audience out there.
I mean, you just invited Wayne Dyer.
Yes, I did. I have no qualms about that.
Thank you.
Yeah. There's some amazing, as we travel, I mean, I'm an international speaker, so as I travel around, I want to connect. I'm already connecting with some amazing people.
He's my idol. Did you know that?
Well, I've read and written. Everyone thinks we're connected because our surname is the same. I just married into it. So, why not?
But it's funny, I didn't even connect your last name, but when you said that my assistant Nan may have confused herself because you have the same name, and I said, no, they're not related.
He was writing to me, and obviously I'm one of 5 million people he writes to, but I take it personally, and I just said, hey, by the way, we would love to have you join us on the show. If they don't want to, they don't want to, but let's put it out there and to share with you.
Because
audience.
now we are ready.
Yeah,
now we had so many people that are, in the top 1% of our industries, where these are people that, like just last Thursday, I had Dr. What did I have?
John Gray?
Yeah, Dr. Dyer.
John Gray?
Yeah, correct. Dr. Gray.
Yes, John Gray.
Yeah. I must be having trouble with my ear. Let me turn off my hearing aid. So yes, the second time. So we and I could say names like that forever.
And we had Dr. Eric Pearl.
Who we had on for the last 6 months. I mean, we just hugely jumped in terms of the quality of the people. These are people that everybody pretty much knows.
So on that note, I think it would be wonderful for the next season if we involve the audience more and ask people to write in and to let us know what they're interested in hearing about.
Yeah. Who would they like on the show?
Exactly.
Yeah.
And how we could facilitate their questions and their interaction from out there. Because I think as we are here to serve them, we would like to know how we can better serve them.
Because I think the variety, this, I don't know what you call it, semester?
It's a season.
This season
13 episodes.
was amazing. I mean, we had a lady talking about abuse. I thought that was fascinating because there's so many people out there going through that. There was a couple talking about the relationships. Yeah, it's always intriguing, and of course then you've got the brain, you've got all these different varieties of shows coming, and I think what we need from the audience out there is, what do you want to hear? We're here for you.
Right. It's becoming clear to me that it's going to be more and more about how we serve people and how we provide value and what it is that they want for us to present, which is a shift from we've been kind of putting this together ourselves based on what we wanted. So there's a shift that's happening. What about you, Ninon?
I think it's very important, as Jamie said, to get the audience involved, though it's very hard for people to get involved, and I've never understood why people are so shy on, having an opinion or getting out there, but that's just how people are. So I think it's up to us to try to make it easier for them to get involved and to engage them into what we're doing. But I also feel that because of where we're going and what we're doing and what we have done, I believe that the show is going to take on its own thing, because people that saw the show 6 months ago and then they see it now, they're seeing a different show because they're seeing something with, more credible people on it, and they're talking about more everyday things and more about life. And I think this is what people have got stuck in, this sort of wind of this downward wind going, and they need to be brought up. And I think we are the group to be able to let them open their minds up and bring this to them, that it doesn't matter anymore. You can have 6 jobs. Before, you could only have 1 job if you were, intelligent and but now you can have 6 jobs and still it doesn't matter anymore. So I think the whole world is changing, and I think it's up to us to bring that to the forefront, to get people to understand that they really can be themselves and who they are. And I think that's the direction we're going in, that it's okay to be you.
Yep, great, thank you. All right, so I think our conscious hour is over again. Did we prove again that it's 5 minutes
Yeah.
or less?
Yes, it gets exciting at the end, right?
So thank you, Jamie and Lynda, for being here from Chicago and from Australia, and also you, Ninon, thank you for being here. And if we said and did anything that touched, moved, and inspired you, please go to livingconsciously.tv and consciousrevolutionmedia.com and engage with us by leaving comments, asking questions, doing all those good things. Thank you all, and
Thank you.
I love you all. We love you all. We'll see you on the next episode.